A very good morning, one and all. This morning brings with itself a special aura and significance as we are proudly conducting the second HR Conclave 2014. On behalf of the entire DSB fraternity, I welcome the august audience to the second DSB HR Conclave 2014. Well, this conclave is planned to take off with itself the sharing of practice and thought leaders' perspectives to HR in the keynote address. It intends to bring eminent HR professionals and business leaders from the industry, HR consulting and academia to share their views and perspectives on the challenges facing HR from a strategic viewpoint. As this has become a very vital and critical issue in the organization differentiation, which largely today rests on the strategic advantage an organization possesses in its human resources. Thereon, we propose to discuss in depth the prevalent issues through 3 tracks of presentations and moderated discussions covering Indian business organization, organizations with a global context, HR consultants and academicians. With these words, I heartily welcome you all again to the second HR Conclave 2014.
Now, I would request our Director General, Professor I.M. Pandey, to please come up on the stage. A brief introduction about Sir. An experienced teacher, researcher, and consultant in the field of finance and strategy. He has served as Board of Directors in the field of HPCL, IFCI, and IDBI. He was an ex-director and dean of doctoral program at IIM Ahmedabad and a professor with IIM Lucknow. And he has also been a visiting faculty at various countries like USA, UK, Malaysia, and France. So please would you step forward to share a few words with the audience.
I welcome on the dais Professor I.M. Pandey, Mr. Keval Handa, Dr. S.C. Vats, and Mr. Krishan Agarwal.
We already got seated.
A brief intro of Mr. Keval Handa. He is the Chairman, Medibus Pharma Private Limited, Promoter Director, Salis Life Care Private Limited, Managing Partner, Connexus Social Responsibility Services Private Limited. He is also the former Managing Director of Pfizer Limited, India since 2005. Prior to this, he served as Executive Director Finance, Pfizer Limited. He was also the Managing Director of White Limited since 2009. During his 20 years with the company, Sir has been entrusted with various positions of increasing responsibility. He has a broad range of experience and has risen above his portfolio as CFO by being a key contributor to shaping the future of Pfizer. He has demonstrated leadership and excellence in strategically guiding Pfizer Limited. He holds a diverse experience in various roles in Pfizer Limited. He is recognized as an industry expert on issues concerning the pharmaceutical sector. As the Vice President of the Organization of Pharmaceutical Producers of India, he has been at the forefront of the industry's efforts to resolve issues pertaining to the pharmaceutical sector. He is also having a diverse experience in finance, commercial strategy, business development, corporate affairs, and he also holds his experience in other sectors like engineering, consumer and project finance in companies like HLL, Vidyut Blades and Sycom. He has been the past president of IMA and has been on the governing board of IIM Raipur, and he was also a member of the governing board of IIM Ahmedabad. He has completed the Pfizer Leadership Development Program from Harvard University and the Senior Management Development Program from IIM Ahmedabad. He has also done a course in marketing strategy from Columbia Business School. He was awarded the India CFO 2014 Excellence in Finance in an MNC by International Market, and also the Bharat Shiromani Award in 2007 and the Pharma Leaders Award of the year 2010. With this, I welcome Sir once again. Now I would request our Chairman, Dr. S.C. Vats, to please step forward and felicitate Mr. Keval Handa.
Now, please may I request Professor I.M. Pandey to step forward and give the welcome address.
Esteemed Mr. Keval Handa, our Chairman Dr. Vats, Vice Chairman Sri Krishna Agarwal, distinguished guests, my dear colleagues and students, a very warm welcome to this HR conclave. As my dear student Rupina mentioned, that this is the second in the series that we are organizing this HR conclave. We have such a distinguished gathering today amongst us that I'm sure that our faculty and students will get enriched by the end of the day when a lot of interaction would have taken place on the various issues of HR. I would like to give you a brief idea of this institute, WIPS, which is Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies. It was started in 2000, and Dr. Vats was the person behind this particular institute. We started with professional degree of law, and then many other professional degrees were added to WIPS. We have now programs in business administration. We have programs, BCom honors, BCA, MCA, LLB, LLM, etc. It was very recently, 2 years ago, that WIPS added postgraduate program in management under the institute called Delhi School of Business. So Delhi School of Business has got postgraduate program which is approved by AICTE. It's our second year of postgraduate program, and by this time we have about 120 students and 15 faculty members, including visiting faculty. Our faculty comes from diverse background and with a lot of experience. We have professors from IIMs teaching in Delhi School of Business. We have our faculty members who have done their post-graduation and PhD from IIMs, Delhi University, IITs, etc. One significant point which I would like to highlight is that amongst our faculty, a large number of them have practical experience. These were the people who have worked in very senior positions in various organizations, manufacturing, service, banking. And therefore, we are able to provide the practical perspective to our students. It is in this context that we also organize these kinds of programs, because we believe that if management is a profession, it should be practice-oriented. Of course, our teachers do give theoretical background to the students, but then in order to really operate successfully as executive in the business, what we need is the practical experience. Since our students, most of them are fresh graduates from different institutions, and very few of them have work experience, we try to compensate that by inviting industry leaders and the professionals, even academia, of course, to share their views and thoughts with our students. You may ask that why we are doing HR conclave, why not in finance? I'm a professor of finance, okay, why not in marketing? Well, of course, we organize programs in all fields, But we thought that we will start with HR Conclave for the simple reason that there is a lot of debate regarding the purpose of business. Now, for example, being in finance, I have been teaching to my students that it is the shareholder value which they have to maximize. And even if we go by the classical thinkers in management and economics, they always thought that the purpose of business is to make profit. Peter Drucker, for example, he says that that is the main purpose of business. Friedman, the Nobel laureate who always believed in free economy, his opinion is that we exist, the business exists only to make a profit. Now the question which is being raised is that the only purpose of business? Now what differentiates a business? Is it maximizing profit or is it something else? Now in that perspective, our faculty thought that perhaps if we study a large number of companies, what looks very clear to us is that the great differentiator is the human beings. Okay? And therefore, perhaps we need to start our these kinds of programs with HR Conclave so that our students get sensitized to this particular aspect. We generally say that management has hard part and the soft part. Now when we talk about production, we talk about marketing, we talk about finance, that is the hardware of management. That's what people think. And most of people believe therefore that this is more critical and therefore the student should be trained much more in these kinds of skills. But then what the research has shown is that the soft part of the software of management is more critical. You may have good building, you may have excellent facilities, air-conditioned rooms in the offices, but if you don't have good, inspired, motivated human beings, nothing will work. And that is the main reason for organizing this HR Conclave. We are very, very fortunate to have business leaders. We have Mr. Handa and there are 9 other speakers from industry. They are business leaders, they are senior professionals from HR, there are consultants, and fortunately we also have from academia. I have 2 of my colleagues from IIM Ahmedabad and 1 from MDI. They would be moderating because we thought that the role of academician is to put together all ideas in a systematic manner. Because what we generally say that business people, the business leaders, they act smart, but the academicians put it in a language which is very difficult to understand, but our students and faculty can understand that. So we thought that we will be able to develop a systematic body of knowledge after listening to the business leaders, HR professionals, and consultants. Once again, I extend my very, very warm welcome to all of you and hope my students and faculty will get enriched at the end of the day. Thank you very much. Welcome, Mr. Handa, once again.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words of wisdom. Now I would request our keynote speaker, Mr. Keval Handa, to please step forward and share his encapsulating words with the audience. Please, sir.
Dr. Watts, Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Pandey, my colleagues from IIM Ahmedabad, other professors, ladies and gentlemen, and young students here. Very good morning to all of you. Yeah, I know it's pretty cold in Delhi, but I'm coming from Mumbai, so you should be a little more warmer. Good morning. Atari. Anybody heard about the name Atari? Atari was the first company that started the gaming business. And it had this famous Pong. In 1972, it started its operation. Within 1 year, it delivered $40 million and 3 million EBITDA. Atari had an exceptional growth. I would say exponentially growth. My throat is very bad, so today I'm going to make a whole lot of mistakes. It's just not coming out. Last 8 days, somebody asked me, why didn't you take Pfizer medicines? I said, what's happening around in India? I don't take any medicines nowadays. In 1980s, it had a turnover in 10 years of almost about $500 million. 1990, Atari was sold. Do you know for how many dollars? $5 million. Tom Peters mentioned about this in his book, In Search of Excellence, about this company. $5 million Atari was sold. What happened to Atari? Was that competition that took over? No. The gaming business, which was zero, went up to $45 billion. And still Atari did not survive. When Jack Welch was asked this question, how do you define the health of a company? How will you look at the health of a company? You know, हम लोग तो health देखे तो BP check कर लिया, cholesterol check कर लिया, diabetes test ले लिया, and then we say I am very healthy. But you are still not healthy, by the way, because there are other parameters also that you never test. Well, how do you define the health of a company? So Jack Welch said, first, there has to be an alignment of the people within the organization. If there is no alignment, there are challenges. See, the organization should be customer-centric, totally customer-centric. And third, he said, comes performance. I will give you another two perspective in this. General Motors, you know all about it. What happened to General Motors? Top 3 global automobile company in the world. And suddenly it has vanished, survived on the money of US charity, US government charity. What happened to General Motors? There's a very interesting, by Times of India, which says, Times of the New York Times, it says, General Motors' core problem is its corporate and workplace culture. The essential attitudes, mindset, and relationships that are passed from one generation to another generation of the General Motors employees. Nothing was wrong with automobile industry, was not that bad. Of course, they took some strategic wrong decisions, having big cars, less fuel efficient cars, so on and so forth. That's different thing. But apart from that, the challenge was again is the people part of it, the health of the company. So if you look at the other two cases, what people do when they look at these two things is basically what comes out from here are two aspects. You have to have performance. And performance, how do you define performance? You define performance from the perspective of growth of a company, from the perspective of return on capital of the company, from the perspective of turnover of assets, and so on and so forth. Nowadays I've joined one bank, so I learned various different ratios now. So my mind gets all the time now in CASAs and other ratios. So people tell me you're gone crazy now. So every organization will have its different parameters. That is the performance where you judge a company. Then comes the health of the company. How do you define the health of the company, and how will you judge a company that whether it's healthy or not? One, as Jack Welch said, are the employees aligned? Are there a common purpose, a sense of belonging within the organization? If that common purpose, sense of belonging is not the organization, why will anybody work in that organization? You today ask a guy to joining the organization. He said, why am I here? What am I doing here? That he is always saying that, do I belong to this place? there is any sense of organization, of belonging in this place. If not, he will look for us. So the aligning the organization purposes, aligning the organization goals, aligning the organization values become very, very critical. Today, we all talk about values. We say governance is a big name and the party get elected on the basis of governance. The test is not what you say, the test is how you play it out. How do you walk it out? How do you demonstrate that governance? And if you are contradicting yourself all the time, nobody will believe you. And then you will lose that pitch that you had at one time of governance. The second important thing is, how are you able to execute? Is your people competent enough to execute projects? Are capable enough to execute? Are capable enough to take decisions? What is that underlining culture which allows you to do it? That's the second important thing in the health of an organization. And the third very important is how fast an organization can renew itself as compared to competitors. Renewal. You have to look afresh all the time. Complacency kills you all the time. Looking fresh puts you in a different direction. Coca-Cola was always saying, we sell 1 billion servings. Somebody said, what is this 1 billion serving? It's just not renewal. Let's talk about 47 billion to go. That means 47 billion serving still we have to serve. That is the market for us. That's its renewal itself. You're self-renewing it, re-looking yourself. You're ahead of competition all the time. So that is how the health of an organization is come. And I'll give you two. There is a company called Sunbeam. There was a gentleman called Diopant or something like that, forgetting his name. And there was a company called IBM. They were these two companies. This gentleman was known to buy greenfield companies, knock it down to 1/3 the strength, tear off all the waste that is around, sell the plants, and then make it little healthy and sell it off. So he bought this Sunbeam company. He did exactly that same. Reduced the workforce to 1/3, sold off some good assets, and then started running that company. Unfortunately for him, the talent had gone by then. And what was left were the useless guys. He couldn't survive. He couldn't survive. And that was the end of his strategy of stripping the companies. But you look at Gerstner, when he took the IBM, absolutely down the dumps. Competitors had taken IBM for a ride. What did he do? Of course, it did focus on performance, but that's not the only focus it did. In fact, his entire focus was in the culture change. Defining the new moments for IBMs, breaking the rigidities, particularly the arrogance of the IBM employees. IBM employees were very arrogant. He actually broke that arrogance of the IBM employees. And then IBM today has again got its glory. So these are the different ways people address issues, because you cannot be addressing only performance without the health of the company, or you cannot be addressing only health of the company without the performance. It has to be complementary in nature. Both have to go hand in hand. It's only when they go in hand in hand the success happens. A company which is on the top quartile of health and also doing good performance, the survey shows that it has a capability of delivering 2.2 more, rather it has delivered, it says, 2.2 more at the EBITDA level. Fantastic. 2% more at the book value level. Fantastic. And 1.5% more at the net income to sales ratio. Now, that's what the health of the company does to your performance. So to my HR friends, what were you doing when Atari was growing? What were you doing when GM was at the top? What were you doing when IBM was sliding? Were you complacent? You were sleeping? That's the HR challenge. That's the HR challenge. Is to know exactly where is the health of the company going. What is the intervention I need to make? And if you are not able to do that, then the company will slide. A lot of the HR guys come and tell me, but HR has moved ahead. I said, how have you moved ahead? Tell me. Sir, we have trained the line managers to do all this now. It is their responsibility, not ours now. It is the line managers who have to play the HR role, not now. I said, then what role are you going to play? We are playing the role of training the line managers. I said, okay, give me a case of your performance management. How do you manage? I will accept what you are saying. I said, sir, we have a fantastic system, web-based system. Everything is KRs are defined, understand, it's sent, and he reports, and the response is given. I said, sub web-based mein ho raha hai. Bola, sub web-based mein ho raha hai. Bola, that's the failure of HR. Even if a performance management you can't do one-to-one, if the line managers are afraid to have a conversation with their juniors on a performance management, the entire HR of the organization collapses. Where is the touch and feel in the organization? You take many such cases, what the HR think we have trained the line. Yes, the line managers are trained, but do they do it? Do you have adequate experience in training the line managers have to engage in one-to-one courageous dialogues with the juniors? How many have guts even to spend 10 minutes when a junior says, I have done all this, I have done, you don't know what you have done. Does he have a courage to face that? No. Today challenge, the young guys challenged and said, sir, I have done this. I have done all what is there in my parameters. Why are you rating me poor? Is a manager has a challenge to face it? None of the managers senior today have challenge to face it because they are not trained to face it. That's where HR fails. HR fails because it doesn't do intervention. It doesn't do proper training and capacity building that is required to be done. That's what I say, the HR has a fantastic role to play. And HR is holding one part of the pillar of the organization, which is the health of the organization. And HR is also responsible to deliver exceptional profits, as I showed you, as any other line manager does it. But that's something that needs to be driven and understood very, very clearly. It's a vast topic. There are three elements in today's discussion: the Indian perspective, the global perspective, and the consultancy perspective. I like the third one the best because I have spent all my life with HR consultants. But I'm not going to talk about that much because they are all my friends and they don't like it. So I will not talk about that. But I'm going to talk about you more on the first and the second part. But before I go into the first and second part, let me give you a little bit of idea as to how things are happening in the talent area. Now, there is a good study in US, which is a very interesting study in US. HR guys talk about talent all the time. Fantastic, we have to have talented guys. We need to nurture talent and we need to take care of talent and so on and so forth. But the reality is, actually, it is not happening. The reality is, people are less and less satisfied in the organization. Talented people don't stay in the organization. Why is it so? So there was a survey done in US. In 1987, 61% of the people said they are satisfied with their job. 61. In 2000, 51% people said they are satisfied with the job. In 2010, only 45% said they are satisfied with their job. What is happening? Where is HR? We're actually sliding down dramatically from 60 to 45%. And you come now in 2014, God bless, it might be 25%, who knows? No satisfaction. That's the intervention that is required. Why people are not satisfied? What is missing in the organization? We are partnering with business unit heads. We call it strategic partnership of HR with business units. Very good word. Madam will like it also. No, you don't like it. Good. Strategic partner. What do you do strategic partnership with HR? resource deployment, resource employment. अरे वो तो क्या सीधा बोलो, you just hire people. That is what the partnership was all about. Strategic partnership is very, very beyond. Understand the business. Understand the needs of the business. Understand the attitude of the people doing the business. Understand psych. Have the insights of the business. And then start recruiting people, training people. Train the managers, the line managers, the seniors, the middle managers. That's strategic partnership. And just not be a conduct for resource planning is not strategic management. So that's a big challenge. So in the talent, there is a huge, huge challenge. And the challenge is mainly because today, success is not just winning in marketplace for customers. Success is also winning in the marketplace for talented employees. And there is a fight for getting talented employees. And talented employees are now commanding more and more premium. I'll give you an example. We've been advising two companies. And I was told that there was a group product manager interview happening. So I just happened to be there. So I said, let me see how the talent is coming from other companies. So the girl was asked to present a scenario of what she's doing and how she looks at the business for the next 5 years. That's the way I conduct interviews. I don't sit and asking, how are you? What's your family doing? Okay, what did you do in your job? What are your achievements? I never ask them that questions. I said, okay, you give me a 10-minute presentation, what you're doing. How do you see business? How do you see growth happening? And what is your strategy for what company you are hiring? You study it, as much of information, come 10 days, sit here and tell me what you're going to do in next few years. And then only I hired that guy. Or the girl would. So this girl came and she was very young, worked for 3 or 4 years, come from a very moderate business school. And she presented. And like a stupid, I butted in. I said, these reminders are pretty good when you do it sometimes with doctors. She looked at me and said, I don't believe in reminders. That girl had that courage to tell me openly that she doesn't believe in reminders. Now I was dumbstruck what to ask her. Then I said, okay, why don't you believe? What is your reasoning not to believe? Because you never let a person go out without actually ask the person to give a further clarification of what that person wants to say. And she gave reasoning and all that. So after all the interview, I said, okay, we'll let you know. So I came out, I said, hire this girl. I'm not able to hire her. She's demanding twice her salary of the existing company she is in. That's the talent challenge today. You're not going to get talented people. I'll give you another example. This company, there is a doctor system where the sales guys have to report how many calls they have made, how many doctors they have made, what activities they have done, and so on and so forth. They have spent crores of rupees in putting the system in place. Crores of rupees. The HR guys did all this funfair, doctor system. We will have records where everybody's traveling, so on and so forth. And I'm talking about an MNC company, by the way. 2 years down the road, nobody has uploaded the doctor list. 2 years down the road, nobody has even looked at the data and the reports that is being generated. And everybody said that doctor system is not working. That's a useless system. They had a guy, very good on computers, very good on understanding and interpretation, and told him that, guys, set the system in place first and bombard the managers with your analysis and reports. And if they are able to respond, present that in the executive committee. Guy is just a junior, passed from some IT school. And he worked it 2 months, put the system in place, doctor's list, call records, this, that. Started generating quarterly result. then comes monthly, and now he generates weekly reports and marks exceptional report to the managing director. So when we wanted to hire him in another company, I asked him, so why you want to leave that company? You've done an exceptional job. Well, that's done is over. Now I want new challenging jobs. That's the another thing is, talent don't stay if you cannot offer challenging jobs. Same repetitive jobs, they can't do it. They need new challenging jobs. I said, okay, I'll give you challenging jobs and all this, and this is where you do. So I put him to the owner of the company, an Indian guy, owner of the company, which we work very closely. I said, fantastic guy, you have a look at him, and I want to hire him. He looked at him. The first thing he looked at is salary. Perspective. He looked at the salary. My God, ये तो junior है, इसको 10 lakh रुपया. He didn't tell me, he told the HR guy. Then he didn't see him for interview for 2 days because of the salary. Then finally I told the HR lady, go please put up the candidate to him, at least let him see, then I will have a chat with him. Finally he saw it. Then this guy presented this and all that. Then he comes to me in my room and said, what is so new about it? These are the same chart. We can also generate. I said, how many years you have this system? He said, 7 years. Have you generated single chart? He said, no. I said, I need a person like that to generate charts. You need person like that in HR to drive people. You need HR to get people driven and do things. And HR need to put that system in place to how do you drive people. If this guy can make the organization of MNC live with the reports, so also an HR can do it. So the talent becomes quite a challenging, and I just, just a quote, this is very good quote, that it's only when the tide goes out, you learn who's been swimming naked. Only when the health collapses, suddenly you will see the performance is not helping you, and then you are open. These are our top challenges faced by business leaders. Now if you look at the challenges, talent comes second. Business growth, talent comes second. I don't want to go at it. If you look at talent, there are various elements of talent they are looking at. And the first one is that grow talent internally. That means there is a dying need that there is nothing happening for talent internally. We are trying to acquire talent from outside and pay a very heavy price, but not focusing enough for internal development of talent. That's another challenge that we need to address. Training, development, other things. Now you look at what the CEOs in India talked about. That was an Asia study and all that. The top 3 risk organization over the next 3 years are inability to attract, retain talent. Sorry. We are back to talent. Inability. We are just not able to attract talent. The top 3 human assets. Inability to develop skills to address business needs. HR is an open field here to work on it. Lack of leadership qualities and capabilities at the senior level and at the medium level. You may have great guys coming in from IIMs down, but if the middle and the senior level are not tuned to that, you have a challenge. How do you build their capability becomes critical. Pandey Sahab knows about it, how young guys leave because the bosses don't understand them. They are not ready to try and experiment things differently, what they learn at IIMs. That becomes a challenge. I don't want to get into this. Quotes are there. There's the store of a wisdom. This is a very good quote, I like it. Does not consist of hard coins which keep their shapes as they pass on. The hard coins don't change in shapes. But it consists of ideas and doctrines whose meanings change in the minds that entertain them. That's where the difference comes. Narayan Murthy was asked a question. What do you think is the biggest challenge? He says the biggest challenge an organization faces is the mindsets of the people in the organization. To change the mindsets is the biggest challenge. You have that rigidity sometime, inflexibility sometime, arrogance sometime, bureaucracy sometime, complacency sometime, that mindset change becomes very, very difficult. I'll give you an example of 4 monkeys. I think somebody might have all read this also. There was this experiment done with 4 monkeys. The 4 monkeys were kept in a room. High on the roof, bananas were kept. And there were about some steps through which they could go up and catch the bananas. Simple. So the monkeys looked at the bananas, attraction, very good. They started climbing up. Suddenly when they reached step 2, there was cold water splashed at them at such a high speed, they just couldn't do anything and went back. They kept on trying, kept on trying, kept on trying. Every day the same story. Because that was, a sensor was kept. Step 2, waters will gush out. Finally they gave it up. All sat down, looked at banana a few days, and then stopped even looking at the banana. Kuch fayda nahi iska. They stopped looking at the bananas. Then they removed 1 monkey from there and put a new monkey in. A guy came in. A new monkey came in. The moment he came, he said, how are these 3 guys are so stupid around here? There are bananas here and they are all sitting here. So he, in his enthusiasm, went up to hold the banana. The moment he was going, all the 3 also went behind him and said, no, don't go. Monkeys are social animal. No, he said, I don't trust you. And so he wanted to go up, and then the gush of water came in the moment he touched step 2. The new monkey also became the mindset and became the same character as the. So they kept on rotating like this. At the end of the experiment, all the 4 which were first there moved out and all the new 4 came in. But in spite of that, nobody went up to take the bananas. They continued the experiments and the bananas were never picked up by the monkeys. That's the rigidity of the mindset which passes on from one generation to another. You have to be very, very, very clear in your organization. What is the mindset of my organization? And how do I want to change that mindset? When a Microsoft CEO was asked, what are the 3 things that he wants to look at? He said, A, storytelling. It's a very great art. What I've been doing is telling you stories only. It's a great art. All the CEOs were good at storytelling, and storytelling should come naturally. It should come from your experiences, from your own workplace, and sometimes have fun at you, even ridicule you at many times, and they do it. He said, I will never give up the storytelling to anybody, but I'll do it. The second, he says, getting the culture right. I'm partner with the HR guys to have a right culture. The moment I have a wrong culture in the organization, I cannot succeed. I want to set the culture right. And the last thing he said, getting the people right. He would sit through all the interviews that were happening in Microsoft, even at the junior level. Even a cleaner interview he would sit through, getting the right people in the organization. That's how the organization has been built up. Mobilizing and developing to unleash the competencies and creativity and commitment to things moving forward. See, this is very important. That how do we actually get them to unleash it? What are the 2 things they are looking for? The new young people who join organization, the talented people you join. They're looking only for 2 things. A, is there enough transparency and democracy and decision-making power given to me? If not, why should I work? Am I responsible for my job? Then I should get authority to take decisions. If I'm not given the right to take decision, I have to take approvals of 10 people. I don't enjoy my job. As simple as that. Second, are there enough challenges in the job that it keeps me going all the time? The new scenarios, new role. That's the role of the HR now. How do you create that system of transparency, openness, democracy, decision making down to the lowest level. That is not going to be done by line managers. It has to be consciously put into practice through a culture process. And that culture process is the role of an HR. How do you keep giving the talented guys challenging responsibilities? Not one job stuck for life, but many jobs every year. How do you do that? Is the role of HR. Understanding what the individual requirement is, where the right fit is, how do you move him to different jobs, how do you pick people for challenges job and put him on there. That's the role of an HR. And I think these are two very, very important roles in the entire process of organization transformation, if you will. And organization transformation just doesn't happen by hiring consultants. Now I come to the third part. In US, only 1/3 of the total consultants are there were able to make some impact on organization transformation. 2/3 were not able to make any impact. That's the role of consultants. There are so many roles of consultants. But if you want to make an organization transformation, the HR has to partner with the line managers and bring these changes across. Tell them these powers have to dilute it and go down. In turbulence time, HR role changes. What happens in turbulence time? The HR goes too inward rather than going too outward. They start depending upon processes and tools. They start bringing more processes and tools in place, more controls in place. That stifles people, and then they are not interested in working. They do surveys, DSB surveys, Gallup surveys, how is the health of the company, how is you and doing and all that. And then they talk about this and do nothing about it. So that's again big problem in feedback. I've talked about you mechanical. During this time when the downsize take place, never put a board that no hiring will take place. Actually, you should put a board, we hire quality people. That's the right time to hire talent people. That's the right time to hire good people. That's the right time the organization also needs good people. And that's the role of the organization and the HR to say that this is the worst time and I need good people on my ship. I don't need to carry baggages. I had a challenge once. In one of the firm we went and talked about, and we said, this department has 7 people, I said. None of them can do the job that is required. Do you want to retain and carry these 7 people or hire 2 people who can do your job? There were a lot of discussion. The owner said, but they have been there for 20 years. I said, choice is yours. If you want to go and transform yourself to the next level, I will advise these 7 guys should go and you hire 2 new guys. Difficult decisions. It's the HR who have to bring this. Tell them this, today's market and today this, I don't think so these guys are fitting in the organization. I don't have a role for them. Be frank and tell the organization they have no role. And therefore we need to hire a different type of people to run this company now. That's the role that HR needs to play all the time. Role of a leader in HR challenges, there are various roles, I don't want to get into it. But one important thing that I want to talk about is they have lost showing empathy now. They lost the human relation part of it. It has become a human resource now. The moment the HR moves out from relationship to resources and become more operational in nature. Organizations who have done dramatically well or have touch and feel and have human relationship. How do you bring that human relationship in the organization also is very, very, very critical. So I'm saying let them be more human first. Learn to be human. How many HRs are human today? They're not. They work. I'll give you an examples of HRs in the multinational context. There are 2 things in a global context. One is multinationals, global companies in India. And B is Indian companies in global area. It's a global context. It could be either way. Now if you look at the MNCs in India, no pun on any company, what is the role of HR today? You will be surprised. They are only pushers of papers. Only pushers of papers. This is sad commentary. Sad commentary on way the MNCs are functioning. Sad commentary on way the HR has been reduced to. And why saying pusher to papers? The recruitment is handled from Australia. The talent is managed from Thailand or Singapore. The performance evaluation is done from US. What does HR do? What does HR do? And the US guys send you the consultants to manage the process of culture in this country. Problem for MNCs going forward. If you have reduced the HR to just coordinating the activities, he will never have his heart and soul to do anything. And therefore in future you will not see great HR guys coming from MNCs. Don't hire any HR guys from MNC, I'm telling you. It's not worth it also. Because they've lost completely now. This is the pattern of the globalization. Because globalization means dividing everything vertically and specialization at different places to cut cost. And when that happens, countries which are on a high growth path suffers the most. Countries which are on maintenance and status quo don't suffer. Countries like India and China suffers the most in the global gameplay. China is asserting itself, we don't want this system, but they are still yet to fight that great battle. Indians, HR should assert itself, this is the system that will not work in the growth economy of India. That's something that we have to bear in mind. The other is the Indian guy is setting up plants in Europe or in US or acquiring companies Europe, US or somewhere else in Nigeria or anywhere else. If you are trying to set your culture there without looking at the local ethos and requirement of the culture, like the Japanese tried to set their culture in India, it never worked. And the Japanese culture was never successful. And Japanese companies didn't do as good as, let's say, the Korean companies did. The reason is their culture didn't got adopted in India. That's a very sad story. So if you're going to do that with all your locations there and trying to put your culture there, people will revolt. People will revolt. Yes, values, yes. The way you want to bring about the culture is a transformation you need to work on. It's not going to happen today. It's going to happen over a period of time. Nothing will happen overnight. It happens, takes time. And HR initiatives starting today will pay fruits only after 3 or 4 years. And therefore, this is what context we need to understand, how we need to do it. To all my consultant HR friends, I think, even before you suggesting off-the-shelf programs to any company, get into the psyche of the company, understand the people, talk to them, work with them, and just don't dump the packages on them. The most of the time, we get packages dumped and the program is conducted in workshop 2 days, 3 days, and it's over. It's not a good idea to conduct workshop at all. It's a good idea is to go and sit at the line managers meeting and do what you want to do. You will find it how you are acceptable and how things move faster than doing a special workshop. So these are some things that are happening across the global area, and I think I'm running short of time on this. All I can say is that we need to understand what needs to be fixed. There was this last story of mine which I like is during the World War, bombardment takes place and a lot of planes get damaged and some planes get completely blown off and we don't see them also. So these damaged planes come back and they made a study and said, okay, these are the parts which took the maximum hit. Why not strengthen those parts? Now just think about it. Why not strengthen those parts? For example, they might have the side wings as taken there. Strengthen the wings so that it can, withstand the bombardments. Everybody said, right. Then one guy said, I don't agree. I said, why? Well, if these parts have survived the bombardment, has come back, and you want to strengthen them, you will not going to gain anything. The planes that have lost because of the critical part got damaged, they have lost them. Why not find out what was those critical damage, the parts that got hit? Because of the plane got blown up. That's what we need to fix. And not what survived and come back that you needed to fix. The entire perspective changes. And that's how HR should be looking at in a different perspective. And saying, am I strengthening something which is there? Or I need to focus on something which is not there. And the moment you start focusing on that, you will realize how the organization changes overnight. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to be here and present it. And I thank Dr. Watts to call me here. All I can say is, HR leadership is not something you do to the people. HR leadership is something you do with the people. You work with the people and you will get success. I'm open for questions. Thank you very much.
Sir, you had said during your present talk that...
Are you HR person? Are you from HR?
No, I've worked with HR people, but I'm not from HR.
Okay, good.
How do you said you must keep giving continuous challenges to people who are talented and good. My experience in life is that man or human beings are never ever satisfied. The more employees or employers are never ever satisfied. They keep wanting more and more challenges, more and more new things and all. So how do you keep giving those continuous challenges to the people? How do you go about that?
I'll better have a guy who is not satisfied, because there is a divine dissatisfaction. That dissatisfaction is divine for the organization. He will always go for it, rather than guys who are satisfied and don't do anything. So I have to identify these people and keep on giving new challenging roles. If your organization is growing, you can always find new roles. If not, put them across different functions in different projects. A smaller role maybe, but at least give them a feel of a different functional role.
Function means something
cross-functional roles.
Marketing, finance, like that.
Any cross-functional roles. If he's a marketing guy, put him in a manufacturing, product development. If he's a marketing guy, put him in a finance role. I mean, I'm not saying you put him 100% in that role. Maybe you offer him some projects which helps him to do that part also.
It'll widen his perspective.
Absolutely. And he will stay longer with you.
Okay, thank you.
$100 bill, I'm going to send it to you. Yeah, you're joking. Now the HR guys are going to hit me and bombard me. I like it.
Keval, I beg to differ with you. A multinational in India and Indian multinationals, you know. I was with Jones Lang LaSalle Meghraj, one of the top facility management company globally. I was able to prevail upon the director HR, who used to operate from Singapore, Mr. Benchia, to have some of the HR policies applicable, successfully implemented in India, in this part of the world, to be made applicable globally. And I think the credit must go to HR. We have to take the HR flag flying, one. Another example where I was associated with Sakura Shimizu, Taiwanese company. The difference of opinion was that they wished to have their product based, assembled in India, but the management from India wanted to have the assembly point there because of the quality. Now there are different points of opinion. I'm not going into detail, but what I want to share with my friends from the HR profession, it is the HR who takes the lead, even with the business partnership. The HR has to understand what is business. Coming from the construction industry, I'm one of the only person known in India who has operated the sensor paver, costing around 70 lakhs. No jokes about it. I know how to operate a total station, which aligns the roads, the highways. Now HR has to take the lead. Thanks a lot for giving me a listening. And I must thank the Institute, Dr. Vas and Dr. M. Pandey, who is my grand guru as on today, to have invited us professionals to know what is happening on ground. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
So you're right. If you stood by, fought with them, you got something, that's compliment to you. You've done a great job. How many of these people have that tough a spine today? Today is difficult. It's such a huge global organization. India is just one part of it. Yes, countries where India is now contributing significantly, like in HLL, there makes a difference because their contribution of India comes very high. So they are able to do it quite differently. But all other companies which fall as just insignificant contribution to the global pie, for them it's a huge challenge. And as more and more specializations and spicing and dicing is happening vertically, I'm finding that challenging across my colleagues. It's saying is very, very high. It's very, very difficult now to even talk and negotiate with people sitting in Australia or sitting in Singapore or somewhere else who just don't understand what's happening here. Because they don't have only India, they have another 30 countries to manage. Let me tell you that. That is the challenge because there they have been stripped of all the support they require. If one guy is looking at talent for 20 countries, how will he be able to manage? That becomes a challenge to convince him getting things done. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Sorry.
Very good morning, sir. I'm Jatin, and I would just like to ask, sir, when we study international business and specifically human resource management in international business, I would just like to go by this quote that you say, that it is the people who are most responsive to change that who survive. Sir, I would like to ask you the question that when we talk about the three approaches to recruitment or HR in international business, the ethnocentric approach, the polycentric and the geocentric, organizations specifically based out of Germany, specifically based out of Japan, like BMW from Germany, or when we talk about organizations like Mercedes, they follow a very strict approach, that is ethnocentric approach. They find that their top level people should always be from their country of origin, the home country where it is headquartered at. Sir, how is it justified? Is it not too rigid? Can't they find better engineers, better managers from India? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's happening a lot of, we've seen in one of the bank cases and we heard, yeah, so there was a lot of these talk about whether he knows that language is not part of the culture. Change is happening. As more and more globalization is happening, people at the top are realizing at the board, wherever it is in US or Basel or Switzerland or wherever it is, that they need to get more and more global representation. And particularly it's also important to understand that India is today a resource of talent. India is a resource of talent. And a lot of Indians are in good demand, India or in globally. And they have proven track record, and particularly in the IT industry, they have proved themselves very successful. In the FMCG industry, they have proved very successful. In banking industry, they have proved themselves very successful. And therefore, this change will happen. But many times, let's not forget, most of the big MNCs are also family-owned companies. They are managed professionally, but owned by families. So there is that need to have the people who understand the culture, language, and can speak in that. So that becomes sometimes a challenge. But it's changing. It's changing, and it's changing dramatically. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. That was the last question. One more, yes.
So my question is on talent management only, sir. I'm from healthcare industry, working from last six years, and giving the training programs to the doctors, to the various medical professionals. And my question is, sir, whenever the company hires the talent, if suppose if company X starts the new venture and he wants the employees from some good company, suppose that's the IT company and I want the employees from the X from the Microsoft or IBM. Now, while hiring the talent, as you said that most of the times we don't want to flourish the talent in-house, we want to get the talent hired from outside at the very good cost. We want to pay and we want to get the talent. Now, while hiring the talent from the other good organization, do the companies do any kind of a study that if I am hiring the employee of Microsoft, being a new company, will I be able to provide everything which the Microsoft is giving to that employee? Do the companies do such kind of a things while hiring getting the talents from outside, which I have not observed anywhere? You want the employees from the very good companies, but you never analyze what that company is giving those people, so they are retained over there for last 10 years, and now you want to get them at the better cost, but you don't know what other things intangible things they are providing.
So, talent can strive because, as I said, the way decisions are made in the organization, the way challenging jobs are offered. If that type of environment is not there in this country, this company which is hiring, then he may not be able to survive for long. Even though he may come on a very high salary, he may move on somewhere else. Now, you cannot overnight give what the ecosystem is in the other company, in this company. It doesn't happen. Therefore, many times while hiring, you have to bring down the expectation of the talented guys also. You have to tell them very critically what is the ecosystem in this organization, what is the culture in the organization, what is the mindset in the other. Tell him very clearly, is he comfortable working in this environment? Now, you have to do that, because if you don't do that, he finds it very difficult. So, expectations management becomes very critical of the talented guys. And that's an art. Okay, there's the last one we'll take now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Rajiv Mathur. You were talking about IBM's arrogance. Do you realize that in most of the Indian organizations, I've worked with a number of companies as a consultant, I think the arrogance is even very, very crude at the HR level.
Yes, absolutely
and
right.
They are not responsive at all. I think they are very reactionary. I mean, most of the problems which are coming in the organizations are more because of the reactionary attitude rather than the responsive attitude.
Absolutely.
And do you have any recipe for making the HR people more nimble and more kind?
I said they have to be more human. They have to more empathy. This is a big challenge, not even only with HR. I've seen at different levels in organization. If they don't need you, they will not respond to you anytime. If they need you, they will call you as if it's their right.
The point is that they are not entertaining the internal customers so
that same attitude goes internally.
Absolutely.
I don't need a person in the other department. I will not even say hello to him. The HR guys.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, I've seen in lifts many times, you have to go 20 floors, 21st floor. One person walks in, everybody is like this. I wonder what is there up here to look at. But everybody is looking up. Nobody wants to even look at and say hello to the other guy. But that is becoming a big challenge.
Absolutely.
It's the same organization, same lift. Every day I go up. Sometimes you are there, sometimes somebody is there. And if the big boss is there, so everybody is like this, and the big boss is also like that. ये क्या हो रहा है यार? ये क्या हो रहा है?
It has really harmed the organization's health. Absolutely.
I mean, those guys, the CEOs are in a different world. What they think? Just because they are CEO, they want to look up all the time. I mean, ridiculous. You just pat that guy next to you and say, hello, how are things? और सारा सब बोल देगा अब क्या problem है. You try that out. And every time he will, talk to, the CEO spoke to me. Yeah. You have bought him forever. Can't you do that simple thing? But that has to come naturally. Not like what HR consultant teach them to do artificially. You're getting my point? Now, you have to train them to do it naturally. That's the consultant job now. How do you train this guy to become natural, genuine guys, which is impossible happening? We are being accustomed now to not interfere in anything and anybody's affairs. And that is becoming a challenge. To get jobs done, to work as a team, to coordinate. It's a big challenge. Yep. So once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for enriching and valuable words. Hope to see you again in our future events.
Now, I would like to request Dr. S.C. Vats, our Honorable Chairman, to please come on stage.
Good morning to all of you. My sincerest thanks and gratitude to my friend and colleague, Mr. Keval Handa, who is with me on the Board of Management, Board of Governors of IIM Raipur. His beautiful exposition of what HR is all about. And he has been a practical HR person. In his day-to-day life, I find him to be a perfect human. Otherwise, at a short notice that we gave him, he said, HR Conclave, that too at DSB, that too with Professor M. Pandey being there, I'll be too happy to come. And he made it. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. Professor Niharika has come all the way from IIM Ahmedabad. Well, I remember a quote by a Nobel physicist, and he said, our scientists need to be Buddhas, or else without the holistic vision of oneness of mankind, the rational science is going to destroy civilization. So what is basic, what is fundamental? And what Mr. Handa also tried to convey is that we need to be human. We need to have a holistic vision, because as the Hadron Collider experiment is going on in the field of particle physics, there are so many components of it. Almost 10,000 scientists working in unison, in coordination, with perfect understanding of one another. So we are all in quest of excellence. That's why this HR Summit is the perspective. It's a quest for excellence in man. In women it is already there. Niharika is already there. So we are in search of human excellence. And once we have achieved that, we'll be good HR personnel, I think. I mean, the way it should be between the employer and the employee relationship. The moment I was listening to ISRO chairman, Mr. Nayad, he said, my greatest strength is to communicate with each one of those scientists and employees who are engaged in space program. So his greatest strength is to communicate with the lowest of the low employee and the highest of the highest scientists. And that's why after Chandrayaan, we have Mangalyaan and so on and so forth. So we are now registering our presence in the field of space science. I think the human element need to be manifested. And more so in HR. If you cannot communicate with the gardener who is trying to tend your plants outside and find out his problem, whether he has the manure, whether he has access to the appliances, whether he has the grass cutting machine, how can you take a holistic view of the overall growth of the institute will stop? So we need to be more interactive, we need to be more human, and we need to be more dynamic. Now the man is becoming so complex, and with all the complexities of the man, it is very difficult, it's a challenge for HR personnel to decodify the complexities. You may be brilliant, you may have scored very high in your post-graduation, but still you may not be having the right aptitude, the right temperament, the right understanding of a given business house. So to sink in with the business ethos, the work culture of an organization. You need to be ever evolving. You can't be static. I'm sure that each one of you, it will be a learning session. Many of you are learned it already. Many eminent professors are here. I'm not there to tell you anything, but what I learned from Mr. Handa and what I'll be learning here, I'm here to listen to each one of you. At the end of it, here at Vivekananda Institute, we have a very, it was founded in the memory of Swami Vivekananda. And when we talk of man-making, character building, and nation building, it's a very, very Herculean task. It's a Herculean task. Man-making, it takes years and years to shape a man into a professional, to chisel and polish. And that part is very well being taken care by our Director General, Professor I.M. Pandey, Professor Ratan Sharma ji, and all my faculty members. But I think that brilliance will be more reflected when more presentations, they come here, and more presentation of ideas, more interaction, will learn people like Professor Niharika and many other professors who have come from IIM. We express our deep sense of gratitude to you, sir. And I assure you one thing, that whatever good practices you tell us, and whatever competencies are built around that theme of the philosophy, HR philosophy that you will impart here, we like to practice it, and all our postgraduate students will be too receptive to all your learned speeches here. Thank you very much. And I, on behalf of the management and my students and faculty members, I express my deep sense of gratitude and sincerest thanks, because I'm a professional and I'm a doctor, which he's very scared of. He says, I'll stop taking antibiotics because there are too many spurious drugs here. That's again hospital management, buying the right product, the man and the machine mismatch. I know of a hospital which had the cardiac lab raised because there was a good cardiothoracic surgeon. And after the cardiothoracic surgeon quit that hospital, it had to be sold in junk. The MRI centers, when they came, then the doctors partnered with it. They got 40%. Look at the human element. Look at the expertise of a doctor. For the first time, I found that the doctors are being paid tributes and they are stakeholders in an MRI setup when it was first set up in Delhi in Pusa Road. The doctors from Institute of Nuclear Medicines wanted 40% stake. Now the value, the academicians now, they are so well established, then they, of course, the metamorphosis takes place. They become consultants, they become experts. They are now dispensing expertise. And they are real guides. They can guide the destiny of a business house. They can shape a corporate. So not that kind of a, when I address the alumni meet here, because we have many streams like law, like BBA, banking, insurance, BCom honors. I told them, I said, each one of you is a stakeholder. And so long as we don't have this concept of stakeholders, I'm deeply inspired by the man. I don't think he would have had any degree in HR, but this Surat diamond merchant is a case study. He wants each one of them to be a partner in his fortunes. If he's making fortunes, let everyone be fortunate to share it. So this holistic way of thinking, this unity in thought and action, and to carry your people with you is an art that each one of us will learn to practice when brilliant scholars here, they deliver their speeches. I reiterate my sincerest thanks and gratitude to each one of you who have taken pains and have traveled long distances to come to this place. And I assure you that whatever you preach here, those precepts will be practiced in letter and spirit. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, sir, for your words of wisdom. Now, I would like to request our worthy Vice Chairman, Mr. Krishnan Agarwal, to please step forward on the dais and present our token of gratitude in the form of a memento to Mr. Keval Handa. Now I would like to request all our faculty members and all the guests to please proceed forward towards the green room and all the students towards the cafeteria and reassemble here again for the session number 2 at sharp 12. Thank you so much.